Minwei Chi Nan. Chapter 16. A good husband should take the initiative to hand over the financial power. How can we accept this? It's not easy for you to cut this much firewood. Qin Mian hurriedly refused. This big bundle of firewood was very finely chopped and one could see that it had been dried in the sun, enough for use for about 5 or 6 days. This Zhang Dashuan was really a warm-hearted man. Lei Tie heard the voices and went out. Zhang Xiang, many thanks. We have firewood. I insist that you take it. I've already carried it here and I don't want to carry it back. Zhang Dashuan wiped the sweat on his forehead as he laughed heartily. Qin Mian had to accept it. Then, thank you very much, Zhang Xiang. Zhang Xiang, come in and have a seat. Right, how did you know that we have split up from the family? Zhang Dashuan waved his hand to express that he didn't need to sit. It's not only me who already knew but all the villagers as well. Most probably, they've heard it from Aunt Zhao. Lei Daqiang and Du Shi were Lei Tie's parents, so in front of Lei Tie, he really couldn't say much. I am sure you are busy, so I'm going back. There's work in the field. Thank you, Zhang Xiang. Take care, Zhang Xiang. After sending off the visitor for a few steps, Qin Mian came back to finish drying the clothes. Have you fixed the chair? There are too many things to buy. There aren't even bowls and chopsticks for eating. We'd better go to town soon. Lei Tie stared at Qin Mian's back, where he stood on tiptoe to dry clothes on the tree for a while before he went to the pond to wash his hands, took out a key from his bosom and walked into the house to open the smaller one of the 2 wooden chests. He took out a grey money pouch from it and handed it over to Qin Mian along with the key. Wife, take it. The pouch was a bit heavy in Qin Mian's hand. He guessed it was silver money and hurriedly pushed it back. Better you keep it. One more thing, don't call me wife. Lei Tie didn't take it and also, didn't promise not to call him wife anymore. He went out the door and said in a low voice, Are you coming? Qin Mian held the money pouch and felt his face got a little hot. His heart beat faster than usual. Was Lei Tie not afraid that he would take the silver and ran away? Did Lei Tie trust him, or did Lei Tie think he could catch him even if he ran away? He didn't want to think about this anymore. When he was married to Lei Tie, the Lei family asked the village chief to apply for his household registration under the Lei family, enlisting him as Lei Tie's lawfully wedded wife. As long as that household registration stood, he couldn't leave. Moreover, being only 14 years old, it was not safe for him to wander outside alone. The best choice was to stay in Green Mountain Village temporarily. In this respect, Lei Tie's wife's status was not without any benefits. In this period of time, he totally couldn't eat and live for free all the time, but he also needed to earn money. It was also good to hold on to this money for a while. Thinking like this, he felt relieved. How much is this? Lei Tie answered, 20 taels and a bit more. How much is it to buy a plot of land for house? How much does it cost to build a house? Lei Tie answered every question. A plot of land for a house with 3 room, 12 taels, to construct the house, more than a tael. However, this construction cost was for building a thatched cottage. Qin Mian calculated the total cost in his mind and could not help but lament, we're really poor. Let's not go yet. Let's see first exactly what we need to buy. Hearing that, Lei Tie followed him into the house. There was no need to list what needed to be added in the kitchen. Almost everything was missing. Qin Mian went directly into their bedroom. He looked at the bed first. It was still that bed, padded with an old cotton-padded mattress. The mattress was covered with a dark blue sheet and a coarse quilt. Quilt need to be added. 1 at least. This one is too old and coarse, and how about replacing the mattress? He would like to add 2 quilts, but the problem was that there were so many things that they need to spend the money on. If they could do without something, then better give it up. Lei Tie nodded. Qin Mian went to the two wooden chests and looked at Lai Tie. Seeing that he didn't mean to stop him, he opened one of the chests with folded clothes inside. He picked them up one by one and counted them. Lai Tie's 5 sets of clothes, 3 of which were thin for summer and 2 of which were slightly thicker for spring and autumn. The other 3 smaller ones were his, 1 old and the other 2 brand new ones should have been prepared when he married in. Qin Mian closed the chest and opened another wooden chest which was empty. He couldn't help shaking his head. Let's fill it up after some time. He looked around the room and then looked back at Lai Tie. He thought it was safer to put the silver money on Lai Tie's person for the time being. You hold this first, lest we come across a thief in the market. Lai Tie complied and took it. Then, the two of them went out together. Qin Mian locked the door and thought of another thing, the door lock need to be replaced. You make the decision. Lai Tie had only these words to say. Without a pocket, Qin Mian handed him the key. Dagur, sister-in-law. Lai Xiongji came over quickly and handed Qin Mian a stack of paper in his hand as he smiled slightly. These papers are for you to fix the windows. Qin Mian saw that these papers were new and unmarked, it was not used at all. He secretly thought that Wu Lang was thoughtful and smiled at him sincerely. Thank you, Wu Lang. We're going to town, so we won't invite you in. Sister-in-law is too polite. You are obviously busy, so I'm going back. Lai Xiongji smiled back and turned to leave. Qin Mian rolled the paper into a tube and squeezed it into the window pane. With the sun on top of their head, he headed to town with Lai Tie. His hands were empty, while Lai Tie back carried a large bamboo woven basket. There was only one water pouch in the basket. That. Our social connection in the village is too weak. Zhangxiang is very nice, let's invite him to dinner in the evening. Qin Mian spoke with Lai Tie as he walked. He couldn't call him Tie Gerger without outsiders present. I'll listen to you. Lai Tie had no objection. Qin Mian was used to his taciturn character, so he didn't mind. He looked at the sun and estimated it was almost 12 o'clock. It was too hot and the road was far away. He didn't talk anymore and looked at the road while shading his head. In the fields on both sides of the road, the golden rice was about to mature completely as the stalks were heavy. On the ridge, experienced farmers were observing the rice to determine when was the most appropriate time to harvest them. When the gossiping women saw Qin Mian and Lai Tie, they gave ambiguous laughter. Without a change in his expression, Qin Mian muttered to himself, "You people better not ask me for anything in the future." End chapter. Minwei Qinan. Chapter 17. Purchase 1. For the first time, Qin Mian's feet hurt so much that he could hardly feel them. He had expected that they would come across a cart heading to town until he saw the grey city walls of the small town. It was not what he expected. It was much livelier near the town. Pedestrians came and went, some were walking, carrying baskets or carrying a pole containing vegetables, fruits, handicrafts, and other such items which they were hoping to sell to earn money in the town. Some people took carts, ox carts, donkey carts, and horse carriages, in and out with the carriage drivers sometimes making a few angry yells. There were also people who rushed to sell sheep and pigs in the town. The cries of sheep and pigs came one after another, as if it was a competition. Qin Mian rubbed his stomach. Since Lai Tie listened to him in everything, he didn't ask as he led the man into a noodle shop. In fact, he would like to eat white rice more but knew that white rice was more expensive, so he could only bear it and thought about it later on. He found an empty table to sit down and ordered, "Shopkeeper, 2 bowls of vegetable noodles." Lai Tie abruptly said, "Make it 2 bowls of shredded meat noodles." Ayo. The smile on the shopkeeper's face became more enthusiastic. Qin Mian's chest was filled with feelings that was hard to describe. He looked up at Lai Tie and saw that the man wanted to say something. He was afraid that the man would say something like "You are my wife" in public, so he said it first with tone that was a little helpless and gloomy, "I know." LIAN asked in a low voice, "Know what?" Mian turned away from him, stared at the shop assistant who was cooking noodles and said calmly, "Never mind." The wok was steaming hot. The shop assistant scooped up the cooked noodles and put it in a bowl. With another hand, he picked up a spoon and quickly added shredded meat, chopped green onion and diced tofu into the bowl, one after another. Finally, he added a ladle of soup and poured it on top. The aroma of the food immediately turned stronger. "Here are your noodles. Please enjoy it." Mian looked at the shredded meat in the bowl and silently counted, 6. He comforted himself that something was better than nothing. He took all the shredded meat and put it into his mouth before eating the noodles. A bowl of noodles would not fill a stomach. He reckoned that LIAN was also not full yet. Saving money didn't mean starving. He shouted with bold manner, "2 more bowls." This manner could easily make people mistake him for a nouveau riche. The other customers in the shop looked at him strangely and someone even muttered, "What are you shouting for? It's only 2 bowls of noodles, not 2 bowls of emerald and white jade soup." The angle of LIAN's mouth rose faintly to an almost imperceptible arc. 4 bowls of noodles cost 12 yuan. The most important thing was that after a long time, Mian finally tasted meat again. Although the shredded meat was tough and lean, Mian was satisfied with it. He didn't like food made from wheat flour, but he even drank the soup clean. After eating, Mian didn't go to shop immediately. Instead, he went around the town and looked left and right from time to time. LIAN followed him silently, without being impatient or asking why. This made Mian secretly admire the man's good temper. LIAN didn't doubt that he was deliberately teasing him. Fact was, he really wasn't teasing him. They were too short of money that it was time to find a way to make money. Mian just wanted to see if there were any business opportunities in the town. After strolling around, Mian knew what he should do. He went to the grocery store to buy oil, salt, and other necessities. There was no oil jar and salt jar at home, but they were also being sold at the grocery shop. He bought 2 jars which cost 6 yuan, 5 jin of salt which cost 22 yuan per 1 jin, and 2 jin of oil which cost 24 yuan. /Note, a jin is a unit of weight, about 500 grams/. Give 2 jin each of black pepper and Sichuan pepper. The shop assistant looked confused. There is black pepper, but what is Sichuan pepper? Mian was stunned. Could it be that there is no Sichuan pepper in this world? Then, 2 jin of black peppers and 1 jin of soy sauce. After Mian finished, he glanced at the grocery store. It looked like they had the whole range of goods here. Then, he bought a spatula, 10 plates, 1 soup bowl, 10 rice bowls and 10 pairs of chopsticks. The shopkeeper was behind the counter all this while and saw that they had bought a lot of things. He came over and said enthusiastically, "What else do you need, young man? Choose at will. We basically have everything in our store." Mian looked at the rice and flour sacks at the side. The sacks were all open for customers to see what was inside. Mian asked, "How much does it cost for rice and flour?" To be a shop assistant, one basically had to be quick-witted. The shop assistant immediately quoted fluently, 4 yuan per jin for corn flour, 6 yuan per jin for wheat flour, 1 yuan per jin for sorghum flour, 3 yuan per jin for glutinous millet rice flour, 2 yuan per jin for brown rice and 10 yuan per jin for refined rice. Mian's eyes reluctantly left the rice and fell on the wheat flour. He was about to speak, but LIAN, who was so silent that his existence was practically forgotten, spoke, 10 jin of rice. For fear that Mian would cancel the order, the shopkeeper immediately told the shop assistant, "Pack it." Mian didn't decline, and 5 jin of corn flour, 2 jin of wheat flour, 5 jin of sorghum flour. The shopkeeper's face lit up with happiness. "Alrighty." Mian also picked a set of tea sets, 2 porcelain cups for washing their mouth, a kitchen knife, 3 face wash cloths, a sewing set and a jar of soap powder, as well as other miscellaneous items. End chapter. Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 18. Purchase, 2. That will be all. Tally our account. The shopkeeper took an abacus and calculated the account. The total is 272 wen. Seeing that the young man has given me so much business, I'll discount 2 wen and charge you only 270 wen in total. Qin Mian said with a smile, as the shopkeeper said, we gave you so much business. As you can see, who buy so many in one purchase, so it'd be better to charge 250 wen. We will definitely come to patronize you again when our oil, salt, rice, and flour are finished. Right. LIAN's eyes fell on Qin Mian. This young lad brought more and more surprises to him. The shopkeeper was stunned and smiled helplessly. Young man has the gift of gab. But we are a small business, and to cut down the price this way is too cruel. How about I cut another 5 wen, otherwise I will be losing profit. How so? Qin Mian swiftly said, you have a complete range of goods here, so if everyone learns about your shop, they will all come here to buy. You can imagine how prosperous the business will be then. After I return to our village, I'll help you to advertise your shop, which will surely bring more business to you. If you charge us less, I will bring more repeat customers. It's a good deal. The shopkeeper couldn't help laughing, but there was a helpless look in his eyes. All right, I'll charge you only 250 wen. Many thanks, shopkeeper. Only then did Qin Mian became satisfied. He cupped one fist in the other hand towards the shopkeeper and then beckoned Lei Tie to pay the bill. There was big pile of things. The plates, tea sets, and porcelain cups, which were easy to break, were put in rice and flour to prevent them from colliding and to blunt the pressure on them. The shopkeeper nodded to himself. This young man is clever. Fortunately, the basket was big enough to hold almost everything. The neck of the oil jar and the salt jar were tied with a rope and was directly held in Lei Tie's hand. When they were leaving, the shopkeeper sent them off for a bit of a distance. Qin Mian reached out. I'll hold the oil and salt. No need. Lei Tie kept it out of his reach as he spoke. I will make more money in the future, so that you can buy whatever you want. Cough cough. Qin Mian pretended not to hear. We have more things to buy. Do we hire a cart? Is it expensive to hire a cart? Don't know. Don't mind it. Spend on what should be spent, money can be earned. Qin Mian went to a cloth shop with purpose. Because he had been wandering around before, he had already remembered exactly where to go. Lei Tie walked on the outer side of Qin Mian so he won't be bumping into other people as he looked around. Once they arrived at the cloth shop, Qin Mian asked about the prices of various kinds of cloth before he directly chose the cheapest linen. When he asked what color Lei Tie wants, he got a new pick, as response, and so he chose blue and cyan for himself, indigo and black for Lei Tie. Each color was to be made into a set of clothes and would be picked up in a few days. After that, he asked for 2 pieces of grey cloth for window curtains. 4 sets of robes, 2 pieces of cloth, plus the labor cost of making the robes were a total of 285 wen. Qin Mian was flexible and knew what to say in different situations and to different people. He called the lady shopkeeper in her early 40s Gigi and got 15 wen cut down easily, which surprised Qin Mian a bit. But Lei Tie didn't feel surprised anymore. His wife of today was no longer that dark, thin, and cowardly youngster. In recent days, he had been recuperating well, and in addition, he had been exercising. His skin had not only become fair, but his body was also stronger and healthier, especially his pair of bright eyes that were now very spirited. His whole person was full of vitality, and there was even a little ingenuousness in them. On top of it all, there was his eloquence. It's hard for people to dislike him. Coincidentally, the cloth shop also sold cloth shoes. Qin Mian bought 2 pairs of cloth shoes for each of them and asked the shopkeeper for some odd bits of cloth. He planned to sew several pairs of socks for them to wear when he went back. Ah, they were so poor. After leaving the cloth shop, the two of them rushed to the food market. They didn't have to buy vegetables as they can get them at the Lei family's vegetable garden. Qin Mian mainly bought meat, firstly because they were going to entertain guests, and secondly, it was to eat to one's heart's content. The shopkeeper of the butcher stall had a pair of keen eyes. When he looked at Qin Mian and Lei Tie, he knew that Qin Mian was the master of the two, so he took the initiative to say, "Young man, these are fresh pork. Which part do you want?" Qin Mian's eyes were drawn from the pieces of liver, spare ribs, streaky meat, bone, lean meat, and fat. "What are the prices?" 2 wen for 1 jin of bone, 3 wen for liver, 10 wen for lean meat, 12 wen for spare ribs, 14 wen for streaky meat and 16 wen for fat. Qin Mian took into consideration that he was still growing up, so bone soup was good for his health. 2 jin of bone, 1 jin of lean meat, 2 jin of liver, 1 jin of streaky meat and 1 jin of fat. Lei Tie said, "You can buy more fat." Qin Mian was taken aback. "Do you like pork fat?" Lei Tie shook his head. Qin Mian didn't understand, and it took a while for him to realize, did Lei Tie think the more expensive, the better? He smiled at Lei Tie and said to the shopkeeper, 2 jin more of fat. "No problem." The shopkeeper picked up the butcher's knife, skillfully chopped the meat and weighed it one by one. "Young man, look at the scale. The bone is 2 jin and 2 liang, consider 2 jin for you, lean meat is 1 jin precisely, liver is 2 jin and 2 liang, also consider 2 jin, streaky meat is 1 jin also exact, fat is 3 jin and 1 liang, consider 3 jin. All total up to 82 wen, consider 80 wen for you." The shopkeeper tied the bone and meat together with straw rope and handed it to Qin Mian. "Shopkeeper is a jolly man." Qin Mian praised and waited for Lei Tie to give the money. Lei Tie raised his hands, which was both holding the jars, and motioned Qin Mian to his chest. Qin Mian glanced at Lei Tie, speechless. He took the salt jar in Lei Tie's right hand as he looked at the man with a smile and said nothing. Lei Tie calmly took out the money pouch and handed it to him. Qin Mian counted 80 coins before he paid the shopkeeper and returned the salt jar to Lei Tie. After that, they went to buy 2 big items, a water vat and a quilt. The quilt cost 120 wen without getting even a wen discounted. But this quilt was 10 jin, very thick and worth the money. At the entrance of the town, there was an open space where there were various kinds of carts, such as ox carts, donkey carts, and horse carriages. This was where one can hire a cart. When they arrived there, it was not morning anymore. Qin Mian asked how much it cost to Green Mountain Village. The old man who drove the ox cart said it was 2 wen per person. If too many things occupied a place, they needed to pay for an extra seat. Qin Mian didn't bargain this time. They got on the cart and went back home. On their way from Running Water Town to Green Mountain Village, 2 women in their 30s were on their way as they chatted. One of them was Zhou Qiwa, the other was Fang Hongliu. Today, they went to town together to sell some insoles and their self-made luzi. They chanced upon a lion dance performance for the town's newly open restaurant and came back late because they went to watch the bustling scene. Hearing the trotting sound behind them, they hastily hailed the cart. "Cart driver, take us along." After Zhou Qiwa finished shouting, she saw Qin Mian and Lei Tie was sitting in the cart and her wave slowed down. Fang Hongliu didn't care. She waved, "Stop, stop." The old man said, "Going to Green Mountain Village, right? 2 wen per person." 2 wen. Zhou Qiwa raised her eyebrows. "It's 2 wen from the town to our village. I've gone halfway here and I still have to pay 2 wen. Fang Hongliu corresponded, "Exactly. Aren't you overcharging?" The old man waved the whip to make the ox go on and said in a low voice, "Haven't reached halfway. Either sit or not." Zhou Qiwa and Fang Hongliu had no other choice. "Sit, sit." If it weren't for eggs being on sale today and standing for too long watching the bustling scene, they would be reluctant to spend the money for the cart. The old man stopped the cart and let the two get on. Sit still. The old man yelled and the big yellow ox walked slowly. Zhou Qiwa poked Fang Hongliu's arm, motioning for her to look at the back and whispered, "Look at how many things they have bought, are they really planning to live together? It doesn't look probable no matter how you look at it." Fang Hongliu came close to her. "Keep your voice down. I think Qin Mian is a schemer. He was picked up by the Lei family, penniless and helpless, won't he starve to death without clinging to Lei Tie? Due to the spiritual spring water, Qin Mian's 5 senses were very sharp. He was looking at the scenery and turned around when he heard that. In the Lei family's house, he didn't talk back to Du Shi. Aside from not wanting to incite trouble, another reason was that he didn't want to bother with that woman, but now he didn't want to be silent anymore. Otherwise, wouldn't others treat him as a soft persimmon? And, isn't it bad to mind so much about the family affairs of us men? Fortunately, we know etiquette, but if people who don't know etiquette happen to hear it, they will think that you have some hidden motives." Qin Mian's tone was that of consoling and showing concern. Fang Hongliu was taken aback and suddenly became angry. She turned her head and asked, "What did you say, stinky boy?" "I don't stink, but I smell a bad breath." Qin Mian pointedly looked at her mouth. "You?" Fang Hongliu turned her body around and raised her hand. A shiny kitchen knife suddenly stood between her and Qin Mian. "Wife, this kitchen knife doesn't look very sharp," Lei Tie said. Qin Mian almost laughed. Lei Tie was too cool. "Nonsense! How can a new kitchen knife not be sharp? If you cut bone with it, it must be the same as cutting tofu." Fang Hongliu quivered and put down her hand as if it was electrocuted. She also turned around with her back stiffened. Zhou Qiwa also looked at Qin Mian in surprise. Seeing him looking at her lightly, she turned around quickly, her heart pounding. "Scared you to death, hey?" Qin Mian chuckled and lay lazily against the basket behind him. He could eat meat tonight, which put him in a good mood. This little episode had not affected his mood at all. The old man who drove seemed to hear nothing. The ox cart walked slowly and left behind the green mountains on both sides. Fang Hongliu and Zhou Qiwa didn't talk again. As soon as the ox cart arrived at the entrance of the village, the two couldn't wait to jump down, leaving 4 copper coins behind before they both broke into a run. Qin Mian said politely, "Uncle, we have a lot of things, could you please send us to our door? Our house is not far ahead." "Sure." The ox cart took a turn and drove all the way to the entrance of their house. They got out of the cart and paid the money with word of thanks. Then, the old man drove away. End chapter. Minwei Qinan. Chapter 19. A busy day. Lei Tie threw the money pouch to Qin Mian, opened the door and carried the big water vat into the house. Qin Mian smiled and went into the bedroom with the money pouch. He still put it in the wooden box and locked it with a new lock. The key was initially put under the mattress until he put it on a stringed purse that he could keep on his person. "Wife, I'll go carry water." Since it was no avail to keep on protesting against being called wife, Qin Mian didn't bother about it anymore and nodded immediately, "All right." After Lei Tie left with 2 buckets, Qin Mian took out the dishware in the rice and flour sacks, heated up water to wipe the new water vat several times, then soaked the new dishware and tea sets in the boiling water to simply disinfected them. There was no cupboard, so he brought the low table in the bedroom and put the dishware on it. Rice and flour were put in their bedroom for the time being so they can protect it at night against being eaten by rats. Qin Mian then made some paste with flour and picked up the white paper on the ground to repair the window. Once Lei Tie had filled the water vat, he came quietly to help. "I can take care of this alone." Qin Mian looked at the sky. "It's getting late. Go to Zhang Xiang's house to inform him first, so that Zhang Ji doesn't have to cook brother Zhang's meal portion." After thinking about it, he looked at Lei Tie and explained. Since they were going to live together, the misunderstandings that could be avoided should be avoided. It's not that I don't want to invite Zhengji and their children. Zheng Xiang and his wife may not necessarily be willing to let their children know about us two men living together. If we invite them without due consideration, things may turn awkward. We'll consider that again after relationship between our two families became deeper. I understand. Lei Tie pressed him on the shoulder. Qin Mian put off his worry and continued to arrange work for the man. You take the basket and pick some vegetables in the family's vegetable garden, such as eggplant, bitter melon, and whatever is available. Pick a lot of chili and some other green vegetables you see. You'd better bring back some potatoes and don't forget to cut some if there are green onions. Eggs. Forget it, the villagers must have kept eggs for busy farming season. I'm afraid we can't buy some even if we're willing to pay. Oh, I forgot to buy wine. He tapped on his forehead in frustration. There is a wine shop in the village. Don't worry. Lei Tie nodded and went away. Qin Mian watched him go far before he quickly scooped a bowl of spring water from the magical space and added it into the water vat and continued to bustle about. After all the windows were pasted with paper, he put 2 nails on the top of each of the 2 windows in the room, tied a string in between the nails and then hung 2 pieces of cloth on the top before he sewed several stitches to avoid it from falling off. It was a simple version of a sliding curtain. It didn't look very pleasing but it's practical. Wife, I'm back. Qin Mian was rinsing rice and almost splashed the rinsing water onto his feet. So, what if you're back? Is it necessary to deliberately add wife to the announcement? Is it necessary to be so loud? Lei Tie put the wine jar on the table and the basket beside Qin Mian. Eldest Uncle Zhang next door to the Lei family gave us 10 eggs. Feeling touched, Qin Mian said, Eldest Uncle Zhang is a generous man. He wanted to keep in mind those people who done them something nice so he could return the favor to them later on. He shook the water off his hand, rummaged through the basket and gave Lei Tie a funny look. This was really something that someone who was not in charge of the household would do. In addition to eggs, there were several purple eggplants, several bitter melons, a handful of green onions, some green peppers, 3 big potatoes, a handful of chrysanthemum greens and a handful of leeks in the basket. There were a lot of variety but there were only a handful of leeks which would only be enough to fry for a small plate. The chrysanthemum greens seemed a lot but it was sure to fill only 2 or 3 mouthfuls after it was stir-fried. There were going to be several adult men dining together in the evening, so it would not be enough. Fortunately, there were leeks and chrysanthemum greens in his magical space. He would add some when Lei Tie was not bound to notice. Lei Tie looked at the basket. What's wrong? Nothing. Qin Mian said with a smile. Lei Tie thought he wasn't telling the truth but he didn't ask again. We do not have enough stool. I'll go back to the mountain to chop some wood stumps. Go ahead. I don't need your help here. Qin Mian cooked the rice first, cleaned the pig liver, cut it into thin slices and soaked it in water. Although pig liver contained a variety of nutrients especially when fresh and tasty, it must be detoxified before eating, because pig liver was the largest detoxification organ in pig body. After cleaning, it was best to cut into thin slices and soaked for 1 to 2 hours to eliminate residual blood. But today, he was in a hurry to cook. He could only soak it first and fry it last. When it was time to fry it, he could fry it for a while longer. Because there was no tenderizer powder and starch, Qin Mian used eggs as tenderizer. He mixed the egg white with the thinly sliced meat and cured it for a while. Today was for their own enjoyment and serving guests. Until their financial conditions become better, this was the most luxury they could have. When he was in town, he had found out that an egg cost a yuan each, which is not cheap at all. Afterwards, Qin Mian cleaned the bones and fat, and prepared them to be used. Lei Tie came back with a few wood stumps. Qin Mian directed him to pick the edible part of the vegetables while he started to cook. When there were only 2 dishes left to be cooked, Qin Mian asked Lei Tie to invite their dinner guests. When Zhang Xiang, Lei Xiangji, Lei Xiangli, Lei Xiangji, and Lei Chuntao followed Lei Tie in, it had been past 6 o'clock in the evening already. The setting sun dyed the western sky orange. As they smelt the enticing aroma of the food, several of these people involuntarily wanted to quicken their steps but suddenly realized that such an act was a bit disrespectful and they hurriedly restrained themselves. They followed Lei Tie in an even pace. Consequently, they didn't notice that Lei Tie was also moving faster than usual. "Dagur, we can smell the aroma of the food from a distance. It seems that eldest sister-in-law is indeed very good with cooking," Lei Xiangli said with a smile. Zhang Dashuan nodded and laughed out loud. "It seems that we are in luck of having something nice to eat today." Inside the house, the aroma was stronger. Stewed pork bone with potato, sautéed shredded pork with green pepper, stewed pork fat with eggplant, simple version of twice-cooked pork, bitter melon with scrambled egg, stir-fried chrysanthemum greens and stir-fried leeks was being brought to the table in the central room in all sort of colors and flavors. There was surprise in Lei Tie's eyes but it soon turned serene. The brothers and sister from the Lei family as well as Zhang Dashuan were stunned speechless at the array of dishes on the table. At the same time, they sighed with emotion. Lei Tie's wife is very generous in treating guests. The fact was, Qin Mian had held something back. He kept half of the lean meat. The fat was oily but there were actually only 7 or 8 pieces of fat in the eggplant stew though its taste was not bad. The rest of the fat was extracted to make lard. The brothers and sister from the Lei family couldn't help swallowing their saliva. She didn't begrudge them compared to her treatment of Lei Tie but in general, she was a stingy person. The family ate meat less than a few times a year and she was reluctant to put more oil in their dishes. Qin Mian's cooking today was comparable to that of a wedding banquet for them. Ergur and second sister-in-law would be very regretful if they knew. Lei Chuntao was laughing as she whispered in Lei Xiangli's ear. When they went out, Lei Xiangren and Zhao Shi was ridiculing Lei Tie and Qin Mian in the sly. Lei Xiangli could not help laughing at the expression that his second sister-in-law would show had she knew they would be eating something good. Qin Mian appeared carrying stir-fried pork liver with green pepper that was just scooped out of the wok. He said with a smile, "Please sit down." Eldest sister-in-law. Lei Xiangji and the others spoke in unison. "Mrs. Lei Tie, pardon my intrusion." Zhang Dashuan also said. "Sit down." Qin Mian put the dishes down. "There are no outsiders here so there is no need to stand on ceremony." The few of them gave thanks as they each took a seat. Lei Tie opened the wine jar to pour wine for the few people. Without wine cups, he directly used bowls. After Lei Tie poured wine for Zhang Dashuan and the others, he wanted to pour for Qin Mian too but was stopped by Qin Mian. He wanted to leave his stomach for eating meat. "I won't drink but you go ahead and drink as much as you want." At the table, Lei Chuntao was the only girl but because all present at the table were her elder brothers, she didn't need to pay much attention to segregation between male and female. Lei Xiangli was sitting on her left side and Lei Xiangji was sitting on her right side. Qin Mian was afraid that Lei Chuntao would not be comfortable so he spoke to her, "Mei Mei, would you like to try the other dishes first or would you like a helping of cooked rice? Please treat you Dagur's home as your own and help yourself." Note, Mei Mei means younger sister / Lei Chuntao hurriedly said, "Eldest sister-in-law, you don't have to take care of me specially. I won't stand on ceremony with you. Eldest sister-in-law's cooking is so good. I'll eat the dishes first and then I'll scoop the cooked rice myself." Qin Mian saw her conducted herself in natural and unrestrained manners so he nodded and said nothing more. Zhang Dashuan and the others also started eating. Their mouths were full of praise for Qin Mian's cooking. They felt that even the potatoes in the bone stew were tender and fragrant, which made people want to swallow their own tongues. "I'm flattered. Don't just drink wine, eat more dishes." Qin Mian smiled and said simply, pretending to be bashful while eating the dishes from time to time. Lei Tie had only said a few words, but Zhang Dashuan, Lei Xiongli, and Lei Xiongji were all very eloquent. The atmosphere on the table was relatively warm. After finishing the meal, the guests were very obviously satisfied. Except for the stir-fried leek and stir-fried chrysanthemum green which still had a few left, all the other dishes were eaten clean. Zhang Dashuan, Lei Xiongji, and Lei Xiongli were all drunk, but not to the extent that they wouldn't be able to go home. Lei Tie and Lei Xiongji had drunk less. Qin Mian asked Lei Tie to send them off, but they politely refused and see themselves off with a smile. It was already dark, but the moon was high, so the couple wasn't worried that their guests wouldn't be able to see their way home. Zhang Dashuan lived at the other end of the village, so he split up from the group halfway. Lei Chuntao snorted, "I dare say that second sister-in-law probably hasn't slept yet and was waiting for us to go back to laugh at us. I'll tell her later what fine food we ate to keep her awake all night." After saying that, she could not help laughing. Lei Xiongji suddenly said, "Sangur, Sigur and Mimi, I think it's better not to mention anything about it." "Why?" Lei Xiongji and the other two were puzzled. Lei Xiongji sighed, "Dagur and eldest sister-in-law finally get some peace, better let them be in peace." Lei Xiongji and the other two thought of their mother and second sister-in-law, whose tempers were that of someone who wished for the whole world to be in chaos, and they all nodded at the same time. "Right, better not to mention anything." End chapter. Minwei Qi Nan. Chapter 20. Autumn Harvest. When Qin Mian finished washing the dishes, he put everything back to its original position before he walked out of the kitchen and saw Lei Tie sitting at the table, with one hand supporting his chin, head drooping, eyes closed, and the scent of the wine on his body wafting with the wind. He brought rock salt to the outside of the house and squatted on the ground. While gurgling, he sensed the quietness all around, his mind was at peace. Moving out was indeed a good start. Afterwards, he went to the bedroom to get clean clothes and scooped hot water into the tub. There was no bathroom, so he had to make do and lifted the bathtub outside. He took off his clothes and went in. He felt so comfortable that he breathed a sigh of relief. Just then he secretly added some spiritual spring water to the bath water. Now he felt even more comfortable to soak in it, that the previous hard work was not worth mentioning anymore. Lei Tie opened his eyes and heard the sound of the water outside. His eyes were like a well without waves, his thoughts unknown. After taking a bath, Qin Mian felt refreshed. Water had splashed everywhere and he relaxingly stretched out, "I'll go to sleep first. There is still hot water in the wok, it should be enough for you. NN. Today, I passed by the rice field. The rice can be harvested already," Lei Tie said. It seemed that Lei Tie was still very sober, so Qin Mian spoke what's on his mind. "I think we should buy the lot for the house first so that we can cultivate a vegetable field nearby to grow some of our own, otherwise we will have to spend money to buy vegetables 2 months later." Lei Tie was about to go to the kitchen but turned around, "I'll go tomorrow morning." Qin Mian did not ask where he was going to buy it, but he nodded and entered the bedroom. Lei Tie looked at the 2 mouthwash cups placed side by side in the kitchen. He stood still for a moment before he picked up the one which was not wet to gargle. After cleaning himself, he put the bolt on the door and blew the oil lamp before he went to the bedroom. Qin Mian had closed his eyes and lay on the side of the bed, leaning to the edge of the bed. Lei Tie didn't mind. He opened the quilt and went into bed, lying on his side facing Qin Mian. It was because he knew that the young lad would automatically squeeze into his arms when he fell asleep. This night, Qin Mian slept very comfortably without dreaming until he woke up naturally. It was bright outside the window and the sunlight came in through the gap in the curtain, soundless and not a stir. Outside the house, there was a sound of blade being sharpened. Lei Tie was sitting in front of a sharpening stone, intently sharpening a sickle. The sunlight casted a shadow on his forehead, making his angular face softer. Qin Mian stared blankly for a few seconds before regaining his consciousness. Sorry, I got up late. I'll make breakfast now. Qin Mian felt a little ashamed. He scratched at the tangled hair on his head and coughed softly to ease his embarrassment. LIAN took a look at him and shook his head before continuing to sharpen the blade. I'll go to the field first. Qin Mian wanted to ask about the lot for their house but thought it was more important to harvest the rice, and so he swallowed the question. I will send you food soon. By the way, why only one sickle? I can do it alone. LIAN stood up. Qin Mian had other things to do but thought that he and LIAN had only a small rice field, and with LIAN's strength, he could probably attend to it on his own, so he didn't insist on helping. Looking at the sky, he estimated that it's nearly 9 o'clock and quickly stepped into the kitchen to light fire, mixed wheat flour with water to make a semi-thick liquid, added in chopped green onion, salt, minced meat, and eggs, then stirred evenly. Then he quickly made a few sheets of savory chopped onion meat pancakes. He kept 3 for himself and the remaining 7 were rolled up and put in a bowl. Afterwards, he put a lid on it before putting it in a small basket. After a thought, he found a clean water jar and filled it with pre-boiled water that has gone cool. He locked the door and went to bring the food to LIAN. In his hand was a chopped onion meat pancake which he ate while walking. The sun was shining brightly in the sky. In the golden rice field, there were farmers bending over to harvest rice. As they quickly and skillfully waved the sickle, a handful of rice stalk was cut down and soon piled high. People dreaded rain in the harvest season, so no one was chatting and everyone was racing against the clock. Only a few rice fields matured a little later. From a distance, the golden yellow was like plushy carpet. When people in the field heard the movement on the ridge, they looked up. Qin Mian smiled politely and nodded in assent. People with good attitude smile at him while people with bad attitude quickly lowered their heads. Qin Mian didn't pay them any more attention. He soon arrived at his family's rice field and was surprised to see that 1 mu of rice field had been cut down to the 1/5. LIAN was bending down to work. With a sickle, he cut down a lot of rice stalks. He consciously glanced at the back and upon seeing Qin Mian, the indifference in his eyes faded away. Qin Mian waved, "Tiger, eat first." In the nearby rice field, an old man in his early 50s was leading 2 young robust men with harvesting rice. Seeing Qin Mian, the old man's eyes narrowed as he chuckled a few times. What tasty food did LIAN's wife brought over? Qin Mian was surprised to find out that the old man was the village chief. In ancient rural areas, it could be said that the village chief was like the main authority figure, and maintaining a good relationship with the village chief could reduce a lot of troubles. Were Lei Daqiang and Du Shi confused or stupid? It was a real surprise that they were given the rice field that was adjacent to that owned by the village chief. He walked over quickly. Is uncle busy? Unexpectedly, the fields of our families are adjacent to each other. What a coincidence. Later on we will have to bother uncle a lot to keep an eye on it. I made some chopped onion meat pancakes. If uncle and the 2 big brothers don't dislike it, would you want to try it? The village chief hurriedly declined. How can we? No need, no need. His 2 sons had smelled the aroma of the food and couldn't help looking into the basket. Qin Mian gave LIAN a hint with his eyes. LIAN took the basket, brought out the bowl and took out 3 pancakes before he handed them to the village chief. Uncle, do try it. It's not much but I hope you enjoy it. The village chief had to rub his hands on his clothes before he took the chopped onion meat pancakes and gave the other pieces to each of his sons. He took a bite. The lingering aftertaste of the egg with the rich taste of the meat complemented each other well. He nodded repeatedly, delicious. LIAN's wife's food is really good. End chapter.